Hello everyone. In yet another session under the aegis of Sriram IS, in which we are trying to understand and learn about Indian society for our GS paper 1, we are here to discuss a very relevant and very contemporary topic. And this topic is based on this Women and Men in India 2022 report. Now, why this report is important? First of all, it is the most latest report published by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementations. And for your paper point of view, for examination point of view, if you see this GS Paper 1 Indian Society syllabus, you'd see the second topic talks about the role of women and women's organization. Now, given this topic as a very important part of your syllabus, this report stands very relevant because this report talks about the status of women in the Indian society in different parameters vis-a-vis how they are standing in the society as compared to their male counterpart. So that shows the gender, at what level gender equality is being achieved and at what level we are still have to go a long way. So this report talks about that. Now, if we come to the content of this particular report, so you will see that this report is actually this one. I'll just uh, yes. So this report actually talks about these parameters on which it discusses the gender, the status of women. The first is population statistic, health statistic, education, participation in economy, participation in decision making, implementation in impediments in empowerment. Like after looking at all these parameters, at the end it discusses the what are the major impediments in the empowerment of women, and now the whole analysis of all these parameters, and at the end discussing the impediments is going to become it's going to be very handy for writing various answers related to the status of women in India. So let's start with the first one, population statistics. Okay. All right. So population statistics, they will, if you go to this, so I'm taking actually the original report, and I will make you go through the whole report so that you can understand it the way it has been presenting the data on vis-a-vis the status of women is concerned. So this particular report in various sections does the projection till the year 2036. So what it says in the first, as a first finding is that India population, the percentage of female, in 2011 census was this 48.5%, and what it projects that by the year we are coming to the year 2036, this percentage of female population is going to get to 48.8%, which is a little, slight improvement. But also what remains important, that population growth has been slowing down from an average annual rate of 2.2, which was, way back in 1971. And now currently we are starting at 1.1 in 2021. And by the 2036, the year till which it is making the projection, we will be having the annual population growth of 0.58%. Now, if you go further on this report, it shows you another very important finding. It says that the age-wise profile of the population is going to change. How is going to change? So what are the projections? The projection is right now we are here, and I'll just show you this if you see this particular graph over here, which is of 2021, that is our current one. This shows that our base, which is 0 to 15 population, is broad as compared to the projection of this year, 36. So by the time 36 will come, 2036 year will come, our age of 0 to 15 years of age children, the age for 0 to 15 years of the age of young children is going to be lesser, and our maximum population is going to be at this age. So in 30s you will find more people. Right now, what is the status? Right now you see that in 20s the population pyramid is showing that the maximum population is in the age of 20 to 24. So you see, what is the implication of this? One implication certainly is, if I take you to the table here, that if the age group of 0 to 14, which is right now, if we go by the percentage, is 25.7. And by the time we reached at 2036, this age group of 0 to 14 we are talking about here, this will go 20.1. What does that mean? That this particular age group of population is going to reduce by the year 2036. Another important indicator that you have to see here, the 60 plus age right now is 10.1. But by the year 2036, it is going to be 14.9. However, now what is the implication of these two sets of, or these two cohort of population, changing their trends by the 2036? The implication will be visible when we see this middle line of the age 15 to 59, because this age defines our working population. So our working population right now is also 6.4, and it would hover around this number only. With little bit of discrepancy across the year, it will hover around this number only, which means that the burden of dependent, now this 0 to 14 and 60 plus population is going to be the dependent population. So the burden of dependent population on the working population is going to be more. Dependency ratio is, this shows the dependency ratio is a number of children 0 to 14 and older person 60 plus per 100 working age population, which is 15 to 59. And then if you see the trend further, it shows that, the number of dependent population is going to be more for the working population. What does that mean? It means that, if the dependent population is going to be wider by the age, 2036, we need a lot of, care for them. And the burden of unpaid care work would definitely fall on the women of the house, and the gender role ascribed by the society. Now, it's a very important indicator for you to discuss that if the dependent population is going to increase, it would clearly demand the care which is needed for them, and care that is needed for them, which is provided through the family support, falls clearly on women of the family. And if it falls clearly on the women of the family, the direct implication of that would be what? That it would have an impact on their participation in the paid work labor force. All right. So that's how these all indicators are interlinked, and you have to present your answer in such a manner to show the examiner that you know that how one criteria, one parameter, one indicator is linked with the another one. You have the whole broader understanding of the situation, and you are presenting it like that only. Now let's go to the next. Next would be The next indicator is the infant mortality rate. This is this section discusses where we are discussing the population, how the population is going to be in by the year 2036. So this infant mortality rate graph, if you see, it shows, now what is infant mortality? Infant mortality is the number of infant deaths for every 1,000 live births. Okay, and it's positively correlated to fertility. Okay, this is the definition of the infant mortality written here. Now, infants dying more in the Indian society, this number is reducing here. If you see this graph, okay, it's going downward. Now, what is more prominent here for you to understand is that if you see the graph over here, the female is shown in orange and the male are shown in blue. The female infant mortality rate has always remained higher, right? If you see this orange graph, they are always taller than the blue bars. And by now, at 2020, when we are reaching, it is now, getting almost similar. And that is how you have to see that, infant mortality rate. Now, what does this indicate? What this particular fact is indicating you? It indicates what? It indicates that the healthcare system are improving. It also indicates that the care which is provided, the medical care provided to the infants and the mother, they both are improving. So that's how you have to, now you're relating the indicator of health with the indicator of infant mortality rate, and how these both are correlated. I will keep on saying that in every session, that examiner is only looking at the way you are correlating two topics, two issues together to present your answer. Now, another thing that you see here is the life expectancy at birth by sex. This also shows that it is going upward. See, it was going up till 2014, 18, and then it got little stable, and now it is projected that by the year 2036 it will further go upward. Now, what does that also mean? That life expectancy by at the time of birth of both male and female, if they're going higher, again it shows that the value of a girl child is going to be higher, is going to increase. It also shows that the care, the health care, the medical care, the whole vaccination system is going to take is going to be at a different level, and that is why the graph is going towards a higher side. And again, you are matching this, or you are relating this particular graph to the health care system that is being provided to the girl child. Now again, this indicator, this particular figure shows the maternal mortality ratio over the period of from 2004 to 2020. And as you can see, that the trend is going downward. See, now we are around, in 2020 we were at 97. So this is also a very positive marker of the healthcare system, or the health care provided to the mothers, new mothers, and that's how the maternal mortality ratio is going downward. Now, maternal mortality ratio, you should know that. I will still repeat it for your benefit. Maternity mortality ratio refers to number of women who dies as a result of complication of pregnancy or childbearing in a given year per 1 lakh live births in that year. Now, going further on that, I'll take you to another very important indicator discussed in this particular report, that is literacy. Now, to understand the status of men and women in literacy, what is important here is that you have to see what is the meaning of literacy first. So a person aged 7 years and above who can both read and write with understanding in any language was taken as literate. A person who can only read but cannot write is not literate. It is not necessary that to be treated as literate, a person should have received any formal education or pass any minimum education standard. So it's not important that you should go to school. But if by the age of that particular age, 7, you can read and write with an understanding, that means you are a literate person. And literacy could also have been achieved through adult literacy classes and through any non-formal education system. People who are blind and can read in Braille were also treated as literates. And what does that mean? When you say person age 7 years, this means all children of age 6 years or less were treated as illiterate by definition, irrespective of their status of school attendance or their capability to read and write. So if a child below the age of 7, even if the child can read and write, he or she will not be considered literate. So you have to keep that in mind. Taking you further about some detail about it, we have to see the situation of men and women or girl and boys literacy, how is it going? So one way to see that is GPI. GPI is what? GPI is a gender parity index, which is the ratio of general enrollment ratio of girls to general enrollment of boys, and it measures the progress towards gender parity in education, that in different levels of education. And if you can see in this bar also, in this bar graph also, that in different years, at different levels, primary, upper primary, secondary, senior secondary and higher education, you see that gender parity index shows that the status of girls are, how is it going upward or whether it's going downward. So in the primary education, you can see it's going upward. In the upper primary education, it shows that it is going downward. Now in secondary, it is going up and down. In senior secondary, again, it is going upward and downward. And in the higher education, it is going upward. Now, what does that mean? It means that, the primary education, we know that as an outcome of right to education, it is going upward. The enrollment in the primary education has increased. If you see the upper primary, this is actually the age where the dropouts of women happen to the maximum number, and that's why you see that the number is going downward. And if you come and senior secondary also, the story goes as per the dropouts of the female or the girl child. Higher education is going upward because it gives an indication that when those girls who could complete, and I think that this also indicate that those girls who have completed a school education, how many of them are likely to move towards higher education, and that number of those women students are gradually increasing, which is a positive sign. Moving further on this, so this report has a clear-cut table to show the discipline in which male and female ratio. You can see maximum enrollment happens in arts, and then the female enrollment in that discipline is higher. So this is about enrollment at undergraduate level in major discipline. And then you see science, and again female enrollment is higher in this. Commerce, it's lesser. Engineering, it's much lesser. Men are at 26 and women are at 10. Education, you see, the women will always be higher on this side because the teaching is considered to be the most desirable profession for them. Medical science. So this table tells you discipline wise enrollment of men and women. What is important about this table is that when you see engineering and technology, and when you see IT and computers, and there you see the difference is little on a higher side. This shows that how gender-based digital divide is also quite prominent from here. So what is important that when you look at any table, any graph, how are you connecting with some, again, I'm repeating it, with some other indicator. That training you have to gain in your mind while reading any text. Now, if you see law, again, you have lesser enrollment of women. Another argument to give for this is that there are certain professions which are male dominated and which are not feel desirable for women to practice. There the women enrollment are seen to be lesser, and that is why they are practice. You see there is a low enrollment over there. Also, there are certain, now you see, now somebody can argue that in that way engineering science is also something where it's not considered desirable for women to pursue because it takes a lot of your time, but you still see the enrollment of women in science is more. Then what could be the reason for that? So the argument for this is that you also need to see which discipline or taking which discipline is going to increase your perspectives or in the marriage market. Law degree, again, certainly is little problematic as far as the patriarchal mindset of families are concerned. And science degree is considered to be good in the marriage market because for the further education of the next generation, it is considered to be desirable that science degree is needed for from the daughter. If the daughter-in-law is carrying science degree, it is desirable in the marriage market. So that's why science is enrollment are higher. Now, next indicator is the labor force participation, that how the participation in the labor force is being evaluated or is being presented by this report. And if we see these two graph bars, this one says figure 4.11 worker population ratio, and if you see it over the years, it shows from 2019, 2020, 2021, there is a huge difference of labor force participation between men and women. Now, this table shows that within the year 21 to 22, if you see age-wise distribution, in the working population to 15 to 59, 38% women and 78.7% men are in the labor force participation. And in urban area, if you see here, it's further less, 24.3 to 76.2. Now, how will you relate this particular graph to another indicator? You need to think about that, because I would say it is directly related to that in rural area, there are, agriculture becomes the major, employment generator, and women participate in agriculture activities. But that's why, you can see little higher labor force participation in rural area. And in the urban area, you need different kind of employment opportunities are provided. More mobility is needed, more travel is needed. So there are lesser women participation in the urban labor force numbers. Now, average wage earning received per day by casual laborers in work other than public works. Now, why this table is important? When we say gender pay gap, Now this table becomes important for you. You can see that in the rural area, if we go by latest one, April to June 2022, in the rural area, a male would get 393 rupees, and then the female would get 265 rupees. And in the urban area, the male would get rupees 483 and the female would get 333 rupees. You can see the pay gap. Now, if we go further on other indicators and try to relate them with the findings. Okay, another finding is the participation of women in the decision making. Now, what is decision making? In this report, the decision making is taken in the participation of women in the Council of Ministers, and it shows that since 1998 over here, where we started with 9.52, in 2022, it's 14.47. There is a slight growth towards the women's participation in the decision making positions, but the overall percentage is still quite low here, 14.47. Now, if I go further on this, it shows one more thing, that percentage of electorals participating in Lok Sabha election. Now this shows a very interesting finding, that now at 2019, the male and female participation is almost similar. Why it is similar? Because women started gaining education, women started getting politically more aware, role of social media to make people more aware, role of how people are interacting with each other for political awareness. All this contributed that now women are also participating into and exercising their voting rights. Now, moving further, I would take you to another important finding. That is a finding which is talking about women in judicial system. Now, what this indicator says, that participation of women as judges, sitting judges in the Supreme Court or the higher court. Now in the Supreme Court, as per 2022, there are only 3 women judges. And in high courts across the country, only 13% of judges are women. So there's a small representation of women in the judicial decision making. Now, what trend you are seeing here, that maternal mortality rate is increasing, maternal mortality rate is going down, and education and their enrollment is increasing. Labor force participation is not going up, and their participation in decision making position is also marginally increasing. So what is happening, that only the education and the health care of women and the girl child have gained the focus, and that's how they are. There are indicators which show that now it's going to be now the struggle is to bring them into the labor force as well as into the market, into the decision making position. Why it could not be achieved till now? There are certain impediments in the empowerment, and these impediments, you all you need to relate it various kind of violence first, that there are different kind of violence that women are supposed to face: physical violence, domestic violence, sexual violence, psychological violence. When they are in any space, they are supposed to they're supposed to be aware that they are women, and then they are a part of that space and the system in which they are operating. And when you relate this argument that why the growth could not be achieved in a desired manner, you can argue that till the time we curb all these problems of harassment, violence, patriarchal mindset, and sexual exploitation of women, and marriage at a very young age. This issue or this problem and the impediment of empowerment are going to be there. So we need to address this, but this particular report in these indicators show that the picture is not going very bad also. Some achievements have been done in certain areas like education and healthcare. Now, the next section of this report is the Sustainable Development Goals and Gender. And this section I'm going to cover in the next video that I'm going to upload. And till then, you open this report, which is easily available on the internet. Try to have what I tell you, that you try to have a look on different graphs and then try to relate with each other. You know how this graph is telling a story about the other graph. When you are able to establish those connections between two graphs, then you will be able to frame your answer in a better manner for the examination. So as I said, we are going to cover this one in the next video. Until then, I take your leave. Bye-bye.